Los Angeles is one of the best destinations for haunted house hunting. In this Bavarian-style home in Beverly Hills has a particularly gruesome history. In 1932, it was home to the iconic actress Jean Harlow and her abusive husband Paul Byrne, who shot himself in the head while standing in front of the mirror. Their butler discovered him and called MGM instead of the police. So there were tons of rumors that it wasn't actually suicide. Many suspected Byrne's ex-girlfriend, a suspicion exacerbated by her jumping off a boat to her death a couple of days later. Jean moved out after his death but died only a few years later at the age of 26. But wait, it gets creepier. In 1963, celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring bought the home and lived there with his girlfriend, Sharon Tate, until she left him for Roman Polanski. They were still friends and remained so until both of them were murdered by the Charles Manson. Tate was the same age as Harlow when she passed. But back to when the couple lived in the Harlow house, Tate told several friends of creepy occurrences in the home and even mentioned it in interviews. For example, once when she was sleeping in the master bedroom alone, she saw a creepy little man. Her friends say she believed it to be Paul Byrne's ghost. She was so freaked out when she saw the alleged ghost that she ran out of the room and then saw a hanging shadowy corpse with its throat slit in the hallway. There are also stories about 2 other people dying in the swimming pool over the years. The Hotel Monte Vista has numerous paranormal guests they can't get rid of. The hotel, which opened as a community hotel in 1927, named after the townspeople who helped raise the funds for its construction, has a history of underground opulence, speakeasies, and gambling. Today, the hotel is known for the paranormal activity that haunts some of the rooms and halls. Guests who have stayed in room 220 have experienced the TV changing channels on its own accord, and some have said they felt cold hands touching them in their sleep. There is also reportedly a phantom bellboy who knocks on doors and announces room service. But when guests get to the door, no one is there. One of the more popular and possibly most disturbing encounters is the sound of an infant crying in the basement. The hotel website reads, "Staff have found themselves running upstairs to escape the sound of the cries, though the sounds are very real to those who hear them. There has been no information that has explained the phenomenon." This story begins in the winter of 1998 on a farm called Hammundarstaðar in Vopnafjörður, where the farmhouse stood empty even though it was available free of rent. No one wanted to live there because a man had died in the house and there were rumors it was haunted. When my friend arrived in the area in January of that year, she was recently widowed and only working part-time. So, the free rent was an ideal situation, ghost or no ghost. Her cousins helped her move in, and for the first winter she slept in the downstairs bedroom. She soon learned the story about why the house had been empty. The previous couple who lived there had split up. The woman had moved on, but the man could not. He took his own life instead, in the very room my friend had made her own. For the first few weeks, my friend sensed nothing. But then one Saturday morning, while cleaning the house, she saw, or rather felt, a shadow before her as she entered the kitchen. She remained calm, said nothing, but thought, If you can't be alive, don't bother me. And that was the end of that. Later on, when her boyfriend moved in, odd things began to happen. They heard voices, odd knocks, scratching, and thoughts on the roof. And the TV would suddenly turn on when no one was in the room. They lived with these disturbances for a few years without fear, but eventually they did move, and the house stood empty again. Between 2003 and 2004, a work crew was repairing road number 85 from Vnafijur to Baknafijur. They briefly moved into the farmhouse, but fled at the first opportunity. Rumors were that they fled in terror of a ghost. A few years later, my friend went to visit some friends of hers that lived near Akarir. They told her the story about their road crew, who had fled a haunted house somewhere near Bubnafijur. It was said that the crew couldn't understand how anyone, much less small woman and the Icelander she had taken up with, had the courage to put up with the ghost for 4 years. They all laughed. It turned out my friend was considered some sort of dynamo when it came to ghosts. After the work crew left, the farmhouse stood empty for a few years. Another couple lived there now, and have been there for nearly 6 years with no known complaints. As for my friend, the house my friend lived in, now it's not haunted, so she knows that whenever she smells cigarette smoke, no one in her house smokes, that a ghost is paying her a friendly visit. Have you guessed who the dynamo is? You never hear as much about haunted apartments as haunted houses, which is strange considering that apartments have much more turnover, and therefore a higher likelihood of something or someone evil having lived there before you move in. That was definitely the case with 455A Sackett Street in Brooklyn. One woman who grew up there writes about her first-hand experiences, including unexplained fires, seriously bad energy, family tragedies, personal suffering, and here's the kicker: the body of a child discovered in the wall after several suspicious sightings of a similar-looking shadow child in the mirror.